On Maritime Today, this wonderful Saturday morning, we are looking at something which will be of great importance to us as a nation, especially transportation and logistics. So we are creating a holistic framework for the development of transportation and logistics in Nigeria. And joining me on the phone line this morning, I have Professor AbdulGaniyu Femi Sumaila. He's a professor of transport and logistics, and he's currently the Director General Center for Sustainable Mobility. Professor Sumaila, good morning. It's nice to have you join us.
Good morning. How are you today?
Very, very good. All right, so let's start.
How is traffic in Lagos today?
Well, traffic is very calm. You know, it's a Saturday, so it's gradually building up. Before midday, yes, we hope that things will pick up gradually. But it's nice to have you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then. So you are the Director General Center for Sustainable Mobility. Tell us a bit about that particular center. What do you do?
Okay, the center is an advocacy center. That all we are saying is that how do we achieve sustainable mobility in Nigeria? And when you are talking about sustainable mobility, you are saying how can we have smooth transport, smooth movement across Nigeria?
Right.
And there are so many issues involved in sustainability. One of them is the infrastructure. Do we have the facilities that will ensure that we move freely in Nigeria? Do we have the resources that, because as it is today, so many things are changing, and look at the fuel situation. So the support facilities are also not there.
All right.
Those are the things we are looking at.
All right. Yes. So we'll come to that. But the Center for Sustainable Mobility is just an advocacy center. That's what it means, right?
Yes.
Okay, then. So let's
research and advocacy center.
Yes. So let's touch base on the current state of things as it relates to transportation in Nigeria. Prof, people like you have the intellectual bent to be able to decipher where we are in terms of innovative ideas, policy formulation, implementation, and execution. So tell me, what's the current state of things with Nigeria's transportation as it stands today?
It's confusing. Nigeria has a confused transport system.
Why do you say that?
Today, yes, it's confusing. Or it's confused. You see, let me tell you, the integration that you expect in other parts of the world between road transport, rail transport,
water transport
is really, water transport is really not there. In fact, all these modes of transport are on their own. That link, that interoperability is really not there. And that is why you find that in many states are staggering under the burden of transportation poverty. And when we say transportation poverty, is that people cannot move from where they are to where they want to go. The cost is high. The facilities are not there. So it's a confused state.
Right.
Look at the railways. Fortunately, now that government is just coming up with the rail, and we now have a very active, bold, how do I describe it? An MD that has just been appointed.
Right.
He's somebody I know very well. He's very active. He has the foresight. He has the ability to turn the railway around.
Okay.
And those are the things we require.
All right. So it's quite unfortunate that 65 years down the line, our transport sector is still in a confused state, as you have described it. So can this be adduced to absence of planning or perhaps poor policy formulation?
The major issue is this. We have no national transport policy. That is a major challenge we have. Because what is policy? Policy is to set guidelines for transport operations, transport management, transport financing, just guidelines for effective transport system. We don't have a national transport policy. And I must say this, there have been so many attempts to come up with a national transport policy. This thing started as far back as 1961. When this Transport Research Institute, which is part of the University in California,
right,
Yes, they came here. They were the people who, in fact, it was their recommendation that led to the 604 Borno extension of the railways in 1964.
Okay.
So since then, we have been battling as a country to come up with a national policy.
So is it to say, Prof, just a second, is it to say that the federal government doesn't see the need for a national transport policy?
No. They have seen the need for many years. We even had one that was produced in 1991, what they call the National Transport Policy in 1991. That's the only document we can refer to today in Nigeria. But even that document is already outdated, and attempts have been made. Every year, I must confess to you, the Ministry of Transport tries to come up with a policy. There were so many attempts from 1991. I was part of the team with the late Professor Ogusoya to review the 1991 policy. We did. That was what led to the 1993 version of the 1991 policy. And so we can now talk of the 1991, 1993 policy. That's the only thing we have on ground.
All right.
But since then, there have been attempts. 1998, 2005, 2010, all. But all these attempts, don't forget the administrative bottlenecks involved.
All right.
It will have to go to National Assembly and all this and all that. So that is one of the reasons why we've not had a national transport policy.
Okay, so
today,
right, go ahead.
Our transport system is just is roaming,
which is very, very unfortunate. But there was a time the National Transport Commission Bill was passed by the National Assembly, albeit it didn't receive assent by President Muhammad Buhari. But could that have been a solution?
No, because you said National Transport Bill. You see, what we are saying is this. As a nation, we must set guidelines for our movement activities. That bill was actually targeted at something else, trying to look at, okay, what is it? How do we manage road transport? How do we manage rail and all this and all that? That bill was sequel to this privatization policy. You know, when government came up with the privatization policy, they were then looking at various sectors of the economy, and to see, they were trying to tailor various sectors of the economy to fit into the transportation, into the privatizations.
Okay, Prof, you need to come closer to your phone because we're losing our reception a bit. So, yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
So, but let me tell you, the question people have asked, how much of privatization can we do with transport? Yet, today, the operators of transport in Nigeria, operation of transport in Nigeria is left in the hands of the private individuals. Take road transport as an example. Who are those operating road transport? Even the Federal Ministry of Transport at a point did not have a road transport department that actually managed transport, road transport. So today, it is the unions over the years that have been managing road transport in Nigeria.
And also, Prof, there's this confusion also. I mean, people have asked the question, who regulates road transportation in Nigeria? Is it the Ministry of Transportation or is it the Ministry of Works?
This is the greatest problem. But you see, the Ministry of Works is responsible for infrastructure, providing the roads. But when it comes to regulation, that should be the responsibility of Ministry of Transport. So this division is clear. But you will even notice that at the federal executive level, there is this competition between Ministry of Transport and Ministry of Works. And most cases, there is no synergy. That is why we are saying that if we have a transport policy, the policy will draw up the guidelines for whatever we are doing. As it is today, a Minister of Works will just say, okay, we need to upgrade Abuja Kaduna Road. But that may not even be the priority of the transport priority in Nigeria today. You understand?
Right.
The same thing with rail transport. That is why the policy is very, very key. So we just need a national transport policy.
Okay.
And this has been, we've expressed this severally.
Right.
So I know that the current minister is working on it,
Let's see how far that work can take us. But a lot of times we use transportation and logistics interchangeably. Are they Siamese twins?
Yes. They are. They are twins, but they are slightly different. Transport means movement. That's the meaning. That's the simplest meaning of transport. Movement. How do you move? But logistics are all those things that support that movement. So it's not just movement, which is transport. Is broken into three key areas. What we call the transport unit, that's the vehicles. Then we call it, the second one, we call it the way. That's the road infrastructure, the rail infrastructure. Then we have the terminal. These three, they work together to ensure that people can move. For you to move in transport, you need the vehicles.
Right.
You need the routes. You understand? You need the terminals where your destination, where you come down and you disembark. These are the things that lead to movement. That is what transport is all about. But logistics, what are those things that will make these three things work seamlessly in such a way that there will be the ease of movement? So logistics is like a support. But today, I must say that many academics want to tell you that logistics is the father of transport. But for me, I see transport as giving rise to logistics.
All right.
But the two are together.
All right, then.
In fact, yes, they are. Because what logistics, the simplest way people define it is that ability to reach at the right time, at the right place, at the right cost. Those are the things people use to define logistics.
Right.
But that ability to reach is provided by transport.
Okay, then. All right. Prof, I'm going to hold you on a bit. This is Maritime Today on Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. This morning, we are trying to create a holistic framework for the development of transportation and logistics in Nigeria and have a professor in that regard, Professor AbdulGaniyu Femi Sumaila. Is Professor of Transport and Logistics and the Director General, Center for Sustainable Mobility. We're going to take a short break right now. When we return, the Logistic Performance Index of Nigeria, how are we faring? In that regard, Prof will let us know. And in terms of infrastructure, where are we and what should we be doing to ensure that we can show up transportation in Nigeria? All this and much more we'll be dwelling on. And you can also bring in your thoughts too, your questions on 08099120777, 09153877127. A brief break, we will be back.
From A to B, from north to south, from east to west, from port to port, you can ship your goods and feel good too. Oh yeah, Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the point of your need.
The Nigerian Shippers Council is now better poised with responsive systems in place to help you and other shippers get seamless, stress-free transition for your clients' goods from point A to B. Today at the Nigerian Shippers Council, timeliness, orderliness, transparency and efficiency is all we care about. Put your complaint through to our helpline 0818-888-8895. Visit us at number 4 Ayodele Shoyode Lane, Apapa, Lagos, or reach us on www.shipperscouncil.gov.ng.
Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the point of your need.
Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the port of your needs.
Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. Maritime Today is the program, and I still have with me on the phone line this morning Professor Femi Sumaila, who is the Professor of Transport and Logistics, and he is currently the Director General, Center for Sustainable Mobility. Flash update coming in from the Lagos-Badagry corridor says there's a broken down 40-feet container truck having a tire problem. This is at Beno bus stop. Okay. Beno bus stop inwards Iyano Sashi along Lagos-Badagry Expressway. So take note of that. Mechanic has been contacted while traffic is still under control. So the traffic managers there are still working on it. Most other areas are still looking pretty calm for now. No major worries. Prof, let's get back to this. So the Logistics Performance Index of Nigeria, how are we faring in that regard?
Very popular in Lagos.
Hello, Prof.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's get back to the conversation. I was just talking about the Logistic Performance Index in Nigeria. How are we faring?
I think we are very low when it comes to that, because there are so many things that go into the determination of the index. They look at the facilities, the availability of the facilities, they look at the quality of the facilities, they look at the ease of achieving mobility, all these put together. And it is not just one mode. They look at all the modes, the integration between road, rail, air, and all those put together. So Nigeria is very low when it comes to the transport logistic index. Very, very low. And I think as at the last, we were not, I think about the 34th.
Right.
You know.
In the African
so
continent.
We are low. Yes.
Okay, so in terms of transport infrastructure, what should we be doing at this time? This is 2025. You described our transport infrastructure earlier on as very, very deficient. So what is required? Yeah. What do we need to do?
Well, it's first of all, we need to look at the first thing we need to do is to determine the transport requirements of the Nigerian economy. And usually, that is what the national transport policy should do, that will determine the transport requirements of our economy. What is it? What is the economy doing? Let me give you an example.
Okay.
If you have an economy that is dominated by large enterprises, large-scale manufacturing industries, and what have you, it means the type of transport you require will be transport that can carry heavy goods, isn't it?
Right.
Over long distances. And that is probably where the railway is coming. Don't forget that all the modes of transport, they have their own specialization. For instance, road transport is good for door-to-door service. Move you from your home to the next one. Railways is for long haul transportation of goods. The same thing with maritime transport, long haul, for which time of delivery is not important because it could take months and can remain on the high sea, but it's long haul, heavy material. You understand?
All right.
Air transport specializes in speed. So it depends on the nature of the economy.
Okay.
It will determine what proportion of
Right.
our transport infrastructure we will give to roads, what proportion will rail take. So that is why the policy is very key.
Okay, then.
Because it is the policy that should do this analysis.
All right,
then be able to say, yes.
Let's see if we can take some feedback from those who are listening to us this morning. 09153877127 and 08099120777. Let's have your inputs. What do you think about transportation and logistics in Nigeria? Question here says, Prof, do you feel Nigeria currently has a clear national direction when it comes to transport and logistics, or are we still very fragmented? If you're in sending that one in. If you're in, thank you so much. Prof, I know you responded to this earlier on, but for the purpose of clear understanding, maybe you need to respond to Ifeanyi.
Yeah, I think what he said is still fragmented because there is no integration, between the various modes. So we are still highly fragmented.
Okay.
And it's like we said, it is still a product of the lack of national policy.
All right.
Where, of course, we determine the transport needs of the various sectors of our economy.
All right, another message here says, good morning, Victor. Thanks for bringing the professor to the studio. Is it possible to truly integrate different transport systems like rail to road or sea to rail in Nigeria right now? You didn't put your name, but thank you so much. But is that a possibility, Prof?
Yes, it is possible. That is what we are saying. In fact, that is the ideal thing. It is possible to integrate. And in fact, in many parts of the world, you even have, sometimes they talk about single tickets, that if you are moving, say, from Kano, and you are going to, say, Calabar,
right,
you can take your road transport from your house or your village to the airport in Kano. You can fly from Kano to Calabar airport, and from there you can go by water transport to wherever you are going. So it's there. The interoperability is necessary.
Okay, then.
And that is what logistics does, is to link up these components, and so we can integrate our transport system.
All right, another message here for you says, good morning, Victor and Prof. Is there a reason we seem to build roads but never really maintain them? Tunji is sending this one in from Alakpore. Tunji, thank you so much.
The reasons are very clear to everybody. In this country, what we do when it comes to projects is a fire brigade. Somebody comes in, this fire. Okay, we need to construct this road, and once it is done, it is abandoned. Right. Look at the plethora of abandoned projects in Nigeria. It's a problem,
which is quite unfortunate.
The reasons, right? The reasons are known.
Okay, all right. Well, let me just make in one more. This one says, what can be done about the insane cost of moving goods from the north to the south? You didn't put your name. Thank you so much. So that is an issue, really. In terms of logistics and transport, when you have to move from one location to the other, I think it's a major concern. Maybe that's why the Nigerian Governors Forum this week decided to demolish all checkpoints. What do you think about that, Prof?
Yes, let me tell you, today, moving goods from south to the north to south is very, very expensive. And there are so many things involved. Like you said, when the governors decided that they will remove because at every point you get to, you understand, you pay.
Right.
They charge them. Yes. So it's so expensive to move anything from, say, Lagos to Kano. And it is because there are so many areas points where taxation, where they pay. In fact, many of them are not even official.
All right. So let's begin to round this up right now, Prof. If you were to sit with President Bola Tinubu today, what would you tell him to do instantly for transportation and logistics?
No, he should direct the Honorable Minister of Transport to come up with a national transport policy that will determine the needs of the transport needs of Nigerian economy. That is important. And that will be a natural starting point. So that all budgets will now be based on providing these needs.
Right.
Yes.
All right, then, Prof, we'll leave it at that for now. Thank you so much for connecting with us this morning. We do appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
We've been looking at sustainable ways and creative ways of putting in place a holistic framework for development of transportation and logistics in Nigeria. And guesting this morning is Professor AbdulGaniyu Femi Sumaila, who is Professor of Transport and Logistics and the Director General, Center for Sustainable Mobility. We have to go. Mike James has produced the program this morning. Maximum shout out going out to Rebecca Adamu, Assistant Director, Public Relations for the Nigerian Shippers Council. I want to appreciate in the studios this morning Mary Nifemi and Temitokwe Oloruntoba. And I also want to say a big thank you to Okpayemi Shodunke and Remi Aluko. Our executive producer is Tayo Akole. You can connect with the Shippers Council on all their platforms at NG Shippers. My name is Victor Oteri. Have a splendid weekend. Bye.